I'm Aaron Sagers, and this is Talking Strange.
Hey there, spooky nerds. Welcome back to Talking Strange, a paranormal pop culture show. I'm your host, Aaron Sagers, and I am just coming out of my stay at the Parks-Bowman Mansion in New Orleans, which is an Airbnb, or Scare-B&B if you prefer, because it is said to be a haunted mansion, this Airbnb listing. I'm recording this just days before Halloween, so I was spending good Halloween season time in New Orleans, in the Crescent City, a place I love. I love going there. Been there so many times. But this time, staying at the Parks-Bowman Mansion, built in 1884. It is said to be haunted by 4 ghosts, according to the owner, Adrienne Parks. Adrienne Parks and her husband, Bill Bowman, who has sadly passed away, they acquired the home. They moved in on Halloween 2005. I believe they closed on the house on the day that Hurricane Katrina hit New Orleans, and finally got into the home on Halloween 2005. And then they turned it into an Airbnb around 2013. And it is a gorgeous, expansive home. It is warm, inviting, welcoming, eccentric, with a ton of art and artifacts, and that weave a tapestry of worldly travels and New Orleans character. It is just popping with so much personality, and yes, can be occasionally creepy. Now, I have to say, again, such a great location, and Adrienne Parks is a gem, a lovely woman, a very kind woman, and also very sharp, with just such a curiosity and a worldliness about her. During my time there, I conducted paranormal investigations a little bit, kind of scaled down ones, and I didn't really get a lot of reactions. I did think at one point I had woken up in the middle of the night with a start, thinking a door had opened that I had closed, and that was odd. When I first walked up to the 3rd floor where the haunted bedroom is, where I stayed, I did hit this wave, this tension, as if I had interrupted a conversation. Not malevolent, not oppressive, just kind of a tension there. And then mid-time during my stay there, I did sit down and speak with Adrienne Parks, and this is where this interview comes from that you're about to listen to. But I should say, after I spoke with Adrienne, on the final night of my stay there, I had been enjoying my time there. I was just moving around the whole home. It's just covered in books. It's got so much to read and look at, that I was enjoying taking coffee outside, sitting by the pool, sitting on the front porch, petting the dogs, Anthony and Bro, the resident canine guardians of the Parks-Bowman Mansion, and just having a blast being there and just finding it so peaceful. But this final night is closing in on 1 a.m. I'd have been sitting outside in the front porch, petting the dogs, and just looking at the stars, just soaking it all up. And I go inside, and yes, it's a little bit creepy at times in this large space. And I start making my way up the staircase, where the house is really just built around this staircase, and the moonlight is shining in through this giant stained glass window. As I reach the 2nd landing on my way up to the haunted bedroom, I did hit this very creepy, tense feeling, which was different than the other feeling I had experienced in the home. And then the dogs start braying, howling outside. In my time there, I had not heard them make much of a peep at all. Just a friendly bark, and that was pretty rare. But this seemed agitated, unsettled, the sounds of them outside. Because it was a cool night, they were sleeping outside. And then I heard it. I heard this voice, it was pronounced, it was a disembodied voice. Not quite a whisper, but very low tone, feminine sounding to me, saying, "Please, please, please." I heard it 3 times at least. Man, was it an intense feeling. And I made my way rather swiftly up to the 3rd flight to the haunted bedroom, and wrote down in my notes that, yes, I think this place is haunted. Parks-Bowman Mansion, I think, is haunted. I don't think it's haunted by something negative or bad, but based on my experience, that was peculiar enough to move it into the haunted category for me. So with that said, I want you to hear this interview that I conducted with Adrienne Parks. This was, again, recorded before that final experience. But listen in, what's been called the most haunted Airbnb of New Orleans. I hope you can walk away with an appreciation for Adrienne Parks, who I was thrilled to chat with, and I hope you're likewise impressed with her, and we can get some cool little stories out of her. I'm joined by the lady of the mansion here.
I'm the Parks part of it.
Parks, yeah.
My late husband was the Bowman part of it. I still keep his name involved in things.
Right. And I feel like it's appropriate because his altar is right behind us. His altar
is right behind us, so he's overseeing this, so if anything spooky happens, we can blame him. Yeah,
and your name is Adrienne.
Yes.
And your husband's name?
His name was Bill.
Bill.
Yeah, Bill Bowman.
And it's especially intimidating because Bill was also a documentarian and filmmaker.
His first love was movies, and actually horror movies. And he loved spooky, Universal Monsters, all this kind of things. Famous Monsters magazine was his Bible.
Oh my gosh.
Fari Ackerman, the late lamented. And so he grew up making movies and being a little nerd, media nerd kid. And then he worked in television, and then we worked together doing documentaries. We also did videos for the music industry, and we did both videos and also documentaries about musicians and things like that.
And we'll get to the house part of it, but just because we were chatting before, your husband, when he was a kid, did a sort of a Dracula movie, 8mm Dracula movie.
He did an 8mm, it really is like Steven Spielberg. He did an 8mm Dracula movie that was the first part of Dracula. It was the Journal of Jonathan Harker. They didn't have enough cast to do more than Dracula and Jonathan Harker. And they shot actually all around the Washington Cathedral, which is where they went to school. They went to school at St. Albans in D.C., and so they had Dracula's castle. They had all this Gothic architecture. And my husband was, they were both about 12, but they looked like a teenage kid. And the kid who was playing Dracula looked like he was about 8 years old. It looked like Eddie Munster. And then he ended up being an Episcopal bishop.
Yeah.
And writing very, very serious theological works, but he still loved monsters too, and ghosts.
There's this great meme about the first section of Dracula because Dracula doesn't have any servants, and Harker arrives at the castle.
And it's all him. Dracula's doing it. He's a one-man band.
And he's cooking, like every night Harker is eating. So you just can imagine Dracula is like, enjoy, eat, and then
wait a minute, my souffle is falling.
And then he's running to the kitchen, just like toiling away, like with a hairnet on and an apron, and so
it's easy.
Yeah, supernaturally fast cuisine.
Right.
So
a man of many talents.
Yeah. What was Bill's? Dracula was baked in Universal Monsters. We talked about that. What were some of the other horror movies and spooky movies?
Well, he loved, actually, I think his favorite spooky movie was Bride of Frankenstein, because that was the funniest one. And he loved Ernest Tessinger, Clutching His Pearls.
Yeah.
And actually, there's a lovely story. My husband, I'm going to have to set this up a little bit, but there are several Mardi Gras crews that parade during the Mardi Gras season in New Orleans, and one of them is the crew of Zulu, which is traditionally an African-American crew, mostly African-American members. But after Hurricane Katrina, they didn't really have enough members. Some people hadn't come back, so they opened it up and they said you can buy a ride on the sponsors float, and you can ride in the parade. But if you are not a black person, you have to sort of black up. You have to put on blackface. And the whole conceit of it is that even if you're a very light-skinned African-American or Creole, you put on black makeup, white lips, one white eye, an afro wig, and a t-shirt or a sweatshirt. And it's very offensive to everybody except people down in New Orleans. It's perfect down here. Mm-hmm. So for his 60th birthday, he said, I want to have a ride in Zulu. So I bought it for him as his birthday present. And he went there, and the night before, he had a beard, and he had hair, and he shaved his whole head, and he could put on the blackface and everything, and he got all dolled up in this thing. And he had the best time in the world. So he had the ride in Zulu. And then he came home, and he was still in this, Zulu drag, and was sitting here on this sofa, and there was a young man who had kind of overpoured during Mardi Gras Day, and I had invited him back to go to sleep on the other sofa across the room because he was either that or the gutter. And so he was asleep there, and my husband was sitting here, and at that point he still smoked, although he shouldn't have. And he lit a cigarette and was sitting here, and the guy sort of staggered up and went, "Huh?" And my husband said, quoting Ernest Tessinger, "Oh, I thought I was alone." At which point, I think the guy wanted to run out of the building. This is too bizarre. I'm tripping.
An unofficial ghost sighting at the
It was not supernatural, but it was definitely spooky.
Yeah. Well, and speaking of Bride, I know we spoke before. You've got this lovely collectible from Bride of Frankenstein,
yes.
And I've seen some elements from the Crew Zulu around,
which is actually probably the most beloved crew of all the Mardi Gras crews. It's the favorite parade. Everybody loves the Zulu parade. So this is not. It's not anything that's sort of offensive or anything. It is an absolutely beloved tradition.
Well, let's backtrack a little bit more than 100 years. As far as the origin, the foundation of the house before you guys came into the picture, okay. Just give us a brief thumbnail of this.
Well, the house was built in 1884. I do have the records. I have the record of who the architect was. It was a Henry Walter, who was mostly from St. Louis, but he had an architecture practice down here for about 10 years. And he mostly did commercial buildings. He rebuilt the Cotton Exchange and the Boston Club and a few other commercial businesses. But he is the architect who designed this house and built it. And it was built for a man named John Schroeder. So a friend of mine, when he first saw this house, said it was Queen Anne on steroids. It was a very German house, and it is. It's very, very Queen Anne, very high Victorian, but very, very solid. So it was built in 1884, and then in 1887. A family named Rod moved in here, and it was a husband and wife and her mother and 7 daughters and 2 sons. And they all lived here apparently very, very happily because nobody left. Everybody was here for a long time. Eventually some of the girls got married, some of the younger son moved away. And the older son, Jack Rod, actually ended up passing away in this house. He was must have been in his 20s or 30s at that point, and he had tuberculosis, and he was up in the turret room, which is up on the 3rd floor. So he may be one of the ghosts that we have here. But the Rod family lived here for about 25 years, and apparently were very happy. Then gradually, the youngest daughter, she died. She may be one of the other ghosts that is here. So, and as I say, other children moved away and other things happened. So it was sold to 2 women who opened it as a very respectable boarding house. And there were, I believe the most number of people living here were 9 people living here in various configurations in the rooms. And it was quite a respectable house. It was very much, husband and wife in one case and various other people. And then, unfortunately, it started to go downhill, and it got to be more and more rooms and less space, and it got, during the Depression, got to be pretty rough. And after World War II, Korean War, getting into the 60s, it really became almost like a blighted property. It was very run down. The the thing that I have always heard was that the front door, which is massive, was not really attached to anything. In order to go in and out, you just had to sort of pick it up and move it to one side, and then you could go in and out. The third floor of the house was so deteriorated that most of the glass was gone in the windows, so birds were flying in and out, and it was definitely... So it was a wreck. And then in, I think around the 1980s, a couple named Burley, Robert and Sonia Burley, bought it. He had Vanderbilt money or Whitney money, more money than sense. And so their hobby was fixing up old houses. So they brought it back to being a single-family house. They stripped untold coats of paint off of everything. All the floors were covered with linoleum. Stripped that all back, all hardwood floors. They took out the drop ceilings, so it revealed all the beautiful crown molding. So everything was actually, a lot of it was preserved simply by sloth. They just covered everything up, and they brought it back to that. And then it was sold to a couple from California who sold it to my husband and I. We were living up in North Jersey. And we were in love with New Orleans. We'd been visiting for years, so we found this house. We wanted to move down, and we were supposed to move down here on Labor Day, 2005, which was actually the date that Hurricane Katrina hit. Not just around, it's like that day.
Yeah.
So there was a little delay. We could not get down. People had trouble getting out of the city. Everything was an overturned anthill. Fortunately, the house was in very good shape, and we gradually found out that it was all right. So we ended up getting into the city in October when they finally let us come in. Our furniture didn't arrive until Christmas, but we got in late October, and we closed on the house on Halloween 2005.
All right.
So it's 20 years, almost exactly, and God willing, and the creeks don't rise too much, I ain't going no place.
Yeah. And yes, we are recording this right around Halloween season, just about a week away. So,
We'll have to have a party.
I want to be back down here for that, actually. So, yes, you moved in 2005, and then you started doing the Airbnb in 2013, was it?
Beginning of 2013, January or February, I don't really remember exactly. I had seen a little ad on Facebook where it was like, you can do this. And we had bought this big house, mostly just because we loved it, and it was so strange and wonderful. But also because we knew we would want to have friends of ours come down with the New York area and various friends from other places. So we wanted to have guest rooms. I thought, well, we've got all these guest rooms. I'm going to try that. And my husband, who was a little bit more of a pessimist about things, said, oh, that's a terrible idea. We're going to let strangers in the house? I don't know. That's not... And I said, well, we'll list it. And if it's no fun, we'll stop. And it was fun almost immediately. It was great fun. And actually, one of the nicest things was even in 2013, people still had the idea that New Orleans was somehow blighted or damaged or less than it should be. And so one of the things that it enabled us to do was to tell people who were staying here, no, there's this wonderful, you can do this, you can do that. There are these great restaurants, there's this great music, there are these great art exhibits, there's all this wonderful stuff you can do. It's not a city that's underwater or out of business or dead. It's amazing.
It's thriving. It's vibrant.
Yeah. So we were able to become boosters for the city, which was really satisfying. I will say that, we were just outside of New York when 9/11 happened. And it was devastating, of course. But no one ever said, maybe we should just not repair New York. Why is it there? We don't need New York. But people did say that about New Orleans. Why is it there? Maybe you shouldn't rebuild it. It's a foolish concept. And so I became very patriotic about New Orleans and wanted to say, this is a unique, wonderful city, and of course it should exist. And, I can tell people about it.
Yeah. Did you feel, when we first met, you described your husband, who sadly passed away 6 years ago, you described him as a bit of an amateur anthropologist.
I think that was his way of viewing the world. He got his degree from Princeton in anthropology, but he always said his field study was American contemporary culture, as opposed to cultures elsewhere in far off lands. And I think he and I both found it endlessly fascinating to look at why people do things and how they do things, which is the essential study of anthropology. We have rituals, you have ways of celebrating, you have ways of making sense of the world. And New Orleans is so utterly fascinating about that because it mingles African approaches to ways of dealing with the world, European approaches, Native American approaches, traditional American approaches. It's all mixed together, and it's all very, very much present right now. It's not preserved in amber. It's not a museum. People are doing these things. They are engaging in voodoo. They are engaging in the celebrations of Carnival. They're doing all this amazing, fun, spiritual, a little spooky ways of interpreting their life and making their life have meaning.
Do you think that even though Bill was a little skeptical initially about the Airbnb element, that once you started, did that play into that anthropologist quest for knowledge and curiosity? Because now you have people coming in from all over the place.
Absolutely. I was going to say, it didn't take long for him to decide this was the most fun in the world.
It's like case studies, essentially. Everybody's coming in with different stories.
And people would ask us about, tell us about the history of blah, blah, blah. So we would, talk the hind legs off donkeys, whatever. But also we were able to meet people from all over the world. And the people who come to New Orleans, by and large, not absolutely, but people who come to New Orleans are looking for this kind of soulfulness and mysteriousness that is here in this city. So it draws people from all walks of life and all corners of the globe, but there's a reason they come here.
Yeah.
And so since we were here for that very purpose, it was fascinating to compare notes. It was fascinating to say, well, what do you like? A lot of people who are drawn to New Orleans are very psychically attuned or psychically gifted or a little crazy sometimes. One does not, make the other inappropriate. So it was great fun. It was great fun to meet people. It was great fun to share stories, and I made a lot of friends who keep coming back.
Yeah. Let me just pause for one moment. Is it okay if we just close the door because of the weed whacker there? Is that okay for you?
Oh, sure.
We'll grab it.
Yeah. Either dog in or out, whatever, just so they don't bark.
Oh, yeah.
I mean,
the barking is not even an issue.
Okay.
That's more obnoxious sound than dogs barking.
Okay, yeah.
And then we'll start.
Is this sort of what you're going for? I will yap.
You're doing great. I love it. It's conversation.
But tell me to shut up if you want to.
Okay.
I have various spiels that I'm used to telling people.
Just be you.
Yeah,
so,
okay.
All right. Mm-hmm. So and obviously you guys have a home that is so full of items from your travels, and it's steeped in so much culture. Mm-hmm. It's gorgeous. It's fun. It's the kind of thing that I don't have enough time to go around and see every element of it because you have so much. I do have to come back. And the books, just the books alone, like there's so many books that I'm going through, and I'm seeing X-Files, I'm seeing Lovecraft, I'm seeing cultural anthropology studies, and
6 different versions of Moby Dick because different illustrations.
Yeah. I've counted a few copies of the House of Haunted Hill by Shirley Jackson.
Of course, yes.
And then I think multiple paranormal books.
Oh yeah.
But which gets us into the paranormal element of this. So I know this has been this is touted as you have a haunted bedroom, which I'm staying in,
yes.
and there's, hey,
I have
Auntie.
a dog.
Hey, Auntie. And this is, you can't see it on the frame. You can come up here, kid.
You want to come up?
You come up here.
Come on, do you want to be on television?
Come on up.
Come on.
Okay, and this is Ant-Man.
This is Ant-Man's butt right now.
Ant-Man's butt,
Either
yeah.
get in or get out. There we go.
All
There
right.
we go. Okay.
If you want to weigh in on anything. So
Okay.
and then I forget now, it eludes me whether BuzzFeed or someone ranked this as a haunted location.
BuzzFeed gave us the most haunted Airbnb in New Orleans, Louisiana. I don't know, but we're very haunted according to BuzzFeed. I bought this house. We bought this house with no knowledge of ghosts being here. After about a month or two, the people who used to live here, they downsized and they moved about 10 blocks uptown.
Right.
And they still used to give Garden District tours, so they would take people around. So my husband and I were coming back from lunch down on Magazine Street, and we came up next to the woman who used to live here, and she was giving a tour. And she said, well, when I was in the dining room, I saw what I perceived to be a young woman, and she told about viewing this unearthly spirit. And I said, well, you know, if they'd told us the house was haunted, we would have paid more. And she... but so then I asked her about it, and she said yes, that she had been told that there was a ghost here, and that she had seen someone once in the dining room, which appeared to be a young woman, in what she saw was a pale yellow dress, and that was all. So I was then subsequently told that there was a ghost in the house, but that it was a young girl, and that she lived up on the third floor in the haunted bedroom, which was not called that at the time, but that's why I called it that the little girl liked to hang out in this third floor bedroom. So at that point, I assumed there was a ghost or a spirit of some sort here. And but it didn't make sense that it was, is it a young girl? Is it a young woman? What is it? So I was here about a year maybe after we started welcoming guests, and I was coming down the stairs, and on the landing just before you get down to the bottom of the stairs, I saw ahead of me...
Auntie is out.
He's bored. Oh, well. I saw ahead of me a figure of a young woman in some sort of a pale garment, walking away from me, walking down the stairs with loose dark hair hanging down her back. She was a little shorter than I am. I'm 5'5", so she was 5'4" or 3. And I assumed she was one of our guests. So I said very brightly, "Good morning." And I followed her down, and she went down towards the back door. And then when I got there, she was gone. And it was not frightening at all. It was just kind of, isn't that strange? But interesting.
Did you think ghost?
I did not think ghost. I thought that is an uncanny thing. Something like that happened. Now he's back.
Hey, buddy.
But so that was my experience with that.
Did you tell, because Bill this is about 2014, right?
Yeah, something like that, yeah.
So what'd you say to Bill?
Oh, I told him, I said I saw somebody and maybe it was the ghost.
Like right away, or like, Bill?
I did not race up the stairs. I think he was upstairs, but at some point I told him I was going down to make coffee or whatever. I said, by the way, this really strange thing happened just now. What do you think? And he said, that's cool. And we sort of left it at that.
Because, just to interject, like neither of us
were committed believers in ghosts, nor were we committed non-believers.
He was a little more on the skeptical side.
He was a little more skeptical. He was a little more of a rationalist than I am. I write books. He was a documentarian, so he's a little more serious. I write fiction. So I love stories. I say that's fine. But we both were mildly pleased about that. We thought, that's kind of nice. And since then, I have had various experiences, which I will go into more detail if you wish, but where things have happened in the house that are slightly, the word I would use is uncanny, slightly unexplainable, but not frightening, not particularly, in any sense, earth-shattering, not malevolent, certainly, but just odd.
Such as?
Such as I have heard the piano, we're in the music room right now, but I've heard the piano, heard individual notes struck on the piano when no one was in the room. I have heard the bookcases in the library swaying or creaking. I don't know what that means. Some guests have heard lullabies being sung or whispering. Some guests have heard books falling off the library shelves, and in the morning they realize that no books have fallen. A number of people have heard footsteps. And sometimes there has been quite dramatic things of somebody opening a door and seeming to want to come in and things like that. That has not happened to me, but people have told me about this.
You've had items go missing as well.
Very much so, yes. The little girl, there are at least 2 or 3 ghosts in the house, as I've been told. But the little girl is definitely a prankster. She likes candy. If you have anything that is sweet, a box of fudge, or for instance, or a box of cookies, or things like that, it will be disarranged. It will not necessarily be eaten, but things will be moved around in the box. I initially went, mice?
Right.
Dog?
Old house. Humid area, swampy.
I don't know.
All sorts of critters.
But, I chose to believe that we do not have mice. I don't think so. But anyway, so she likes candy. She likes to hide things. My favorite story of all is that once in the haunted bedroom, there was a couple staying in there, and he was very, very organized, very type A kind of executive gentleman. And they had checked in, and they went out someplace, and then the next morning he told me with some concern that he had lost his wallet. And I said, "Where'd you go?" He said, "We went down to Bourbon Street." I said, "Well, it's very possible you had your pocket picked. This is a city. It is quite known to have happened." I said, "You could contact the cops, but I don't know what you're going to get. Just cancel your credit cards. Don't worry about it." So his wife, who was much more sanguine about everything, said, "Let's go out to breakfast." She still had her credit card. She had everything. So they went out to breakfast, and they came back, and they were sitting up on the 3rd floor balcony. And she had left her purse in the bedroom on the bed, and she needed something, so she said to her husband, "Will you go get my purse? I need something." He went and picked up her purse from the bed. They had slept in the bed that night. They had gotten dressed in the morning and had come in and put the purse down on the bed. He picked up the purse, and his wallet was underneath the purse. So I choose to believe that the ghost took pity on him and said, "Okay, you're really going crazy because you can't find your wallet. All right, I'll give it back." But she did it in a playful way. So I thought that was kind of cute.
There was, and it's okay if you don't want to go into it, but you did tell me about someone that was staying in the haunted bedroom, and they seemed to get wrapped up in their sheets. And
it's a great story. Yeah. Basically, this was a man who has since moved back to New Orleans. He had gone to school here, then he had moved out to Portland for a while, and now he's back in the city. But when he was living out in Portland, he would come into the city for Mardi Gras or for Jazz Fest or whatever, and he often stayed with us. So he was up in the 3rd floor bedroom, and he is about 25 years my junior, maybe more than that. We had all gone to bed, and he felt someone get into bed with him, basically, in the middle of the night. And he thought it was me. And he was mortified because this is just going to get really embarrassing because he was friends with my husband. And
awkward all around.
Awkward all around. So he woke up dreading this, and no one was there. So the next night, apparently, he was experiencing the fact that in a dream, he was either choking or strangling or drowning. Somehow he couldn't breathe. And he was trying to fight his way out of something. And very realistically, he felt something grab his shoulders, flip him over on his back, and breathe into his mouth, the kiss of life. And he woke up gasping. No one was there. But he had basically wound the sheets around himself, so he had this experience of feeling trapped in the sheets. But something had brought him out of this in this very dramatic way. So, of course, after that, we gave him terrible grief, and we said, "The ghost likes you." Nikki and the ghost are boyfriend, girlfriend. We were terrible. We made fun of him. So she plays tricks. Now, I don't know if that was the young woman or the little girl. Strikes me as more the young woman than the little girl. I don't know.
Right.
She's kissing this guy. The young woman, apparently, I'm fast forwarding here a little bit, but what I have learned from various psychics who have visited here is that there's a young woman who wanders around the house and sometimes goes up to the third floor, but also is often in the dining room and on the stairs. She's sad about something. She is wearing a pale dress. She has dark hair. And she is sad about something. In my research, I have found the possible candidate for who that might be is the youngest daughter of the Rod family, who had some sort of an illness or an accident when she was a young woman, and did not die in childbirth, but died shortly after giving birth to a child. So she may have had, she may have been crippled, she may have had something going on, but that she was sad. And that might explain the lullabies being heard and things like that, and the whispering. But the little girl, who is supposedly 8 or 9, little girl, is very mischievous. She does not particularly know that she's not alive. She doesn't really like to be called a ghost because she doesn't like that. She doesn't.
According to psychics.
This is according to psychics. I've never had this conversation with them, but I'm taking this on as reported. And she is very playful. And then apparently there is a young man who is either up in the turret room on the 3rd floor, which is now my office, or he very often sits in this room in that chair in the corner. He is a young man in his 20s or whatever, and he apparently goes by the name of, they questioned me, the psychic ladies questioned me and said, "Is there a Zach?" And I said, "No, but there was Jack Rod, the youngest, the eldest son of the Rod family, who died young of tuberculosis, and that could be him." So there are at least 3 different beings that have been sensed here.
Yeah.
And I have seen a young woman once. But I say I still am. I'm kind of an agnostic. There's always explanations that you can say. Well, of course. You know.
I mean, a lot of people know that I love this stuff. I do this stuff. I do think there's weird stuff going on that I've experienced, but also skepticism is a good thing. Asking questions but remaining open-minded, good thing.
I think there are certainly more in heaven and earth than we're dreamt of. Blah blah blah. But what they are, I truly have no idea.
Well, yeah, nobody does.
Yeah.
What was Bill's reaction when that house guests said about the woman in bed, and then him strangling, and then having the breath away.
He thought it was the funniest thing in the world. He was the main one who was teasing our friend.
But did he walk away thinking like, well, maybe?
Oh, I think if you had Bill here to ask, and you may, because some of the psychics say that my husband's spirit is here. Did we already do this? That's his altar back there. Yeah. But those are his ashes back there. But he, so if he is here, you can chime in if you want. But no, I think he was calling him a skeptic may be a bit strong point, too strong a way of putting it. He was a rationalist, but he was very cognizant of other realities. He was also a Buddhist. He was also someone who says that all fabric is Maya, an illusion. So he was not, certainly not a materialist by any stretch of the imagination. I think if you had asked him, he would have said, we live in this sensate world right now. This is the game we're playing. And in this sensate world, there are a certain number of explanations that we choose to believe are true. But what do we know?
Being skeptical at times is different than being cynical,
Absolutely,
so,
yeah.
Just looking over at the altar, Bill, I see chocolate and then macadamia nuts.
He liked those.
Me too.
Yes.
I feel like I would have gotten along with Bill. And it would make sense. I mean, there's so much in here that he's very much imbued in this place as much you.
I think I think it always does. That's a very voodoo tradition is that you make altars to ancestors, to people who have passed on, and you feed the altars. You feed the person there at an anniversary of their death or their birthday or just when something occurs to you. You might give them a food that they liked. You might give them an image that they liked. So that has sort of really built itself over the last 6 years as I've found things that seem to me that Bill would have liked.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The other thing I was thinking about is because you have so many items in this house from your journeys, have you ever given thought to the notion that maybe you're bringing in energies or things that
quite possibly
are hanging around?
Yeah.
I mean, I'm looking at masks.
Yeah.
I'm looking at so many artifacts.
There's things from Tibet. There's things from all over the place. Absolutely, I think as I said, like calls to like, and so you will, if you are the sort of person that is drawn to an object or work of art or whatever, there's something that speaks to you there, but what you're responding to is what is inherent in the object as well. It's really hard after a certain point to distinguish these things if you live in the midst of it. As I say, I'm a novelist. I have spent my whole life writing books. I have spent my whole life, making things up. So I don't know to what extent any of us invoke our demons or our angels. I don't know to what extent our dreams manifest themselves in our environments. Our psychic energies, certainly I would think they would have to. So all of this is a rich, dare I say, gumbo of spirits and influences and soul matter.
Yeah.
That my husband and I acquired throughout the course of our journey together. I have continued to acquire things on my own. That is things that feed our souls, that feed my soul now, from their psychic energy. What the result of the mixture is really almost incalculable for me, because it's the atmosphere I live in.
Right. Yeah, and I most certainly agree. Like the artists, creating things as part of your process. Who knows what you're creating and then bringing into?
I think
from the Buddhist perspective, whether you want to call it a tulpa or more modern versions would call that an egregore, a version of an egregore, different than a tulpa. But so you're manifesting things.
Exactly. I have never gone into a place where creative work is consistently done, be it an artist's studio or a writer's study or whatever, without feeling a certain charge in the atmosphere, which is maybe partly just the fact that I like the person, or I like the person's art, or I'm interested in what they're doing and I want to see what they're working on. But I think we all create our worlds, and that, getting back into the potential of ghosts, if we all create our worlds, and time itself is kind of a questionable construct. If someone was here 100 years ago and was creating their psychic world, who's to say that's not still here? I don't know.
No, I don't know either.
Yeah.
I don't have the rules. As I always say, I have ideas and I've had cool experiences. I'll share my feelings in here. First off, it's such a warm and welcoming place, and much like when you go into a creative space, this is an artist's house. It's a curious house, and it's an artist's house. And you feel that energy and that warmth. Yeah. Also, but interestingly, as I'm walking up the steps, I'm going to the haunted room. It's none of it is bad or scary or oppressive, but there are moments where I'm walking up there and I do feel, I don't want to say heaviness, but I feel like a shift in like sort of the air in a way.
A number of people have said that. I really don't know whether the first few times I was in the house, if I felt it or not, because it was all unknown to me. When I first saw this house, it was decorated with other people's things and things like that. So I don't know to what extent I can affirm that, but a number of people have said that there are various areas, especially as you go up the stairs. This house is constructed around the staircase, which goes up around, where the atmosphere changes. And some people have said that they are quite cognizant of that.
It is like
there are some places. Some people have said that the upstairs, the second floor landing, sort of out front between the library and my portion of the house, some people have felt that that's either a very heavy place or a very warm place. Yeah, not cold, but there's like a furnace there. Other people have said that they feel things in various other rooms. So it's not something I'm certainly not aware of it now, because I live here all the time and move around all the time. But people who are quite sensitive to that have sometimes remarked on it quite vividly, that this is something that they feel. Yeah. I mean, it wasn't. It's interesting that you felt that.
Yeah, it wasn't bad. It was just it's a shift in temperature, not temperature, but a shift in the vibe, you know, and
the atmosphere, literally, like, you know, when you're up high in the mountains or you're down by the sea level, that kind of thing. Yeah.
The other thing that I felt, so last night, the first night that I was staying here, you know, I just pulled out a couple little pieces of equipment to see, like, okay, let's see what we can see. And I mean, I like the gadgets, but I also just like feeling out of place. Sure. Well, you had like the flickering of the overhead light, but that could just be, it's an older light, you know, who knows if the light bulb is going.
Yeah, but it does flicker. There's a night light on the landing going up to the first floor that turns itself on and off. Yeah. A lot, and I really don't know why it does
okay.
that. Yeah.
Interesting.
It's not motion based, because it will turn itself on and off when nobody's near it.
And the other thing, and it could just simply be a dream, or maybe dreams are more. Some dreams are more than dreams. Yeah. But there is a painting or a picture on the wall between the two windows, and I don't know the origin of that picture, but that one was like just kept striking me as sort of notable for some reason.
A woman in a kerchief.
Yes. Yeah. Yes.
She's my great grandmother.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah.
So I was just feeling, and I'm not psychic or sensitive, but I was feeling something come off of that, and then weirdly had dreams of the door opening in that room.
See, a number of people do say that happens to them, and one person said something like, the door opened and she felt someone wanting to come in, and she didn't like that the fact that they wanted to come into her space, and she told them, "Don't come in here," and the person went away.
Yeah.
Or the being went away.
Yeah.
Again, this could be a dream. This could be a hallucination. I don't know. But
I mean, the fact is, you stay in the haunted room. You're already thinking. You're already wired to think about that.
It's kind of a stacked deck. However, one thing I've never done, or I've tried not to do, is if people come and are interested in this sort of thing, I try not to tell them specific things that have happened.
Yeah, you did not tell me about
the door opening
and the feeling.
I didn't mention that at all. Yeah,
No.
and yet there are a number of people who have said that they feel the atmosphere change in the house.
What are some of your? I mean, there's so many, but what are some of your items of artifacts, gifts, artwork that are in here that are some of your favorites? Because there's so much to look at in here.
There's the jade phallus that's up on the mantelpiece, but I think Lamb Chop is in front of it right now. Should I go get it?
You don't have to go get it. I did not catch the jade phallus.
It's Tibetan, and it's very well endowed.
Okay, there you go.
It is quite something. And I didn't mean to hide it with Lamb Chop. I just put Lamb Chop up there last Christmas, and I never took him down. But
All right.
Let me think what else.
I mean, I guess it's not inside a lamb chop.
Lamb Chop would be either very happy or very uncomfortable. I don't know which way Lamb Chop swings.
I did not expect this to come up, and I didn't even see it. But I love it. That's a great one. A follow-up to that? I mean, how do you beat Jade Phallus behind Lamb Chop?
Yeah.
You've got a mix of historic and pop culture there.
Yeah, there's
Sherry Lewis is just...
Sherry Lewis is turning in her grave, or maybe not.
Or squirming in her grave. I don't know.
I don't know. Yeah. No, I mean, there's some historical things. There's the painting down over next behind me over here that is a painting of my husband's grandmother. She was sort of a belle of Washington, D.C. around 1900.
In the blue dress?
In the blue dress, yeah. And underneath that, or above it, or whatever, is a portrait of all the editors and the staff of the Washington Evening Star, which was started by my husband's, well, I think as it's that name, it was existent, but started by my husband's great-great-grandfather.
Right.
And he was the publisher and editor. He was the editor, and the publisher was a man named Kaufman. And then there was another guy who was part of the partnership, and he owned the printing press.
Yeah.
This is about 1840, So the three of them got together and started the Washington Evening Star, which was the dominant paper in D.C. for more than 100 years, but then unfortunately it was eclipsed by the Post.
Yeah, and a great typewriter underneath that.
And that was Crosby Noyes' typewriter. Right?
Yeah.
The guy in the picture, the guy who looks like one of the Smith brothers, big beard.
And there's so many like newspapers and everything, like archives that you can look through in here. So someone comes in here and they're staying, I would advise, you're coming to New Orleans and there's so much to see, so much to eat, so much to drink, and yet this is a space that I'm like, set aside time just to be here, just to spend time here. And
I welcome that. It's.
Where do you think they should start? Like, if they were just going to sit and enjoy the space, should they start in the music room?
I would start in the music room. Then I would. Well, the dining room is very lovely, but that's usually full of stuff that I'm dealing with. I would then go up the stairs. I think the staircase is just marvelous. It's this staircase that goes up as a series of landings and risers all the way to the top of the house. And there's art hung all around there. So that's kind of it. One thing you can do in New Orleans that's just marvelous is you can hang things in a gallery arrangement. So if you have a big tall wall, and the ceilings in this house are 12 feet high, first two floors, don't put one painting on the wall. Put 5 paintings on the wall.
I
jam in more stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not a minimalist as far as that stuff goes. So no, I'm like,
I think Marie Kondo would have a heart attack here.
And then I guess one of the final questions is just, again, so many books that I'm overwhelmed wanting to look through everything. But I did notice there's a lot of paranormal books, and there is also a lot of, I did mention this to you, a lot of X-Files books in a couple sections. One section in particular. Yeah. What was, I mean, if Bill was sort of more on the skeptical side, and you've got like,
you want to say was I Mulder and was he Scully?
Well, and also like, what is it? So you guys were at one point fans. It would seem like.
Totally, yeah. I mean, there are certain things that we enjoyed puzzling over, as so many fans did. The X-Files was certainly one of them. Everything produced by David Lynch, of course.
Of course.
Twin Peaks, of course. But
there's some Twin Peaks action figures hiding somewhere. Yeah, I saw those.
Yeah. And there's, things like that. We basically, as I say, I'm a novelist, so I like making up stories, and we both enjoyed telling stories. Bill came from a part of his family was from up in Maine, but part of his family was from Missouri, and to some extent he was a Southern storyteller. He liked telling stories, as do I. And so both the mythos of storytelling and the mechanics of storytelling are fascinating. And I think we found that fascinating. We did collaborate on some screenplays with people in New York and things like that. So the whole way that information is withheld, parsed out, dribbled out, ultimately confused if a show goes on long enough. And you sort of get people going, what was our mythos again? What did we say so-and-so was? Who is the cigarette smoking man? Oh, is he dead? I don't know. The mechanics of it and the mythology of it, we just found fascinating.
Any favorite X-Files episodes?
Oh, Lord Almighty. I think it would have to be, what is Jose Chung's From Outer Space? I love that one. But also in the modern reboot, as it were, the one where they talked about the Mandela effect, not the Mandela, but the Mandela effect, where it turned out that everybody had these weird pseudo memories that no one else had of things like Jell-O, and wasn't somebody on TV, and I just thought that was the funniest thing in the universe.
I'm a big Kolchak, the Night Stalker fan.
Yes.
So they had the episode where they had the characters, the comedian Rhys Darby, who was dressed in like the Kolchak outfit, and so. But Jose Chung's great episode. Did you guys ever? Did you or Bill ever meet Forey Ackerman or anything? Or
I never met Forey Ackerman, and Bill, I think, met him once at a comics convention, and another mutual friend knew him towards the end of his life quite well. From he was involved both in illustrating comics and in writing about them. So that's how they met. But no, I never met the man. But as I say, he was worshipped. He was
a hero.
He was right up there with Catholic saints. Move on over.
Yeah, I mean, for someone that was Forey Ackerman, Ray Bradbury, Twilight Zone, and Rod Serling, all those guys.
Yeah. See,
Richard Matheson.
I grew up with Twilight Zone. I grew up with Bradbury. I grew up with novels. My husband also grew up with comic books. And so he knew from graphic novels more than I did. I had to come to that later, and I'm going, okay, what is the League of Extraordinary Gentlemen? What is all this stuff. But it basically ultimately comes to the same thing of a really complicated, plausible enough story that you can then elaborate on and embellish as far as you want to go.
Yeah. Finally, your books.
I was going to say,
talk about them and please plug them. Yeah.
Can we pause for a moment and
we'll
get me one of the books? Just
one
for the table. That's fine. Yeah.
All right, there we go. We got a book.
Right. Okay, we have a prop here now.
Yes.
Okay, this is it.
Lovely.
Everybody wants to read this book. Everybody should buy this book. You can buy it on Amazon as an ebook, and it's incredibly cheap. So, I mean, this is like nothing. This is like less than a cup of coffee. Okay.
What's the elevator pitch?
Okay, the elevator pitch is that there are these cosmic beings out of space, out of time, who are the quintessence of appetite. They are the Saturni. The Saturni have always existed, will always exist, and all they want to do is satisfy their own cravings, their own lusts, their own desires to experience life and consume it, and ultimately to destroy it. And then once they've eaten everything that they can in a particular circumstance, they move on to something else. They are the ultimate bad guys in this instance. There are beings that are their servants who are somewhat magical beings, but they are basically human, and they are very tormented by having to serve the Saturni. And then there are a group of people who are human, specifically young people. There's several people who are fluid gender, fluid appearance, and they are here in New Orleans, and they are specifically tasked to fight the Saturni using the powers of voodoo, using the powers of Gnostic magic, all kinds of fun stuff.
Yeah. And so this is Orphans. This is book one.
Orphans is book one. There are 4 books. It's there's Under Saturn's Sun, which is the second book, which is out now, but only through Amazon. I don't have any copies here. And then there's a third book, Forbidden Feast, and the 4th book is The World Made Flesh.
And this is under your pen name, A.V. Parks.
A.V. Parks, which is actually my name, but Adrienne V. Parks, my middle name.
And obviously, Parks-Bowman Mansion, it's on Airbnb, so people can look it up and book it that way. But other ways to keep up with what you're doing, keep up with what's happening with the home.
You can go to adriennevparks.com. It's all spelled out. You can go to my Facebook page, which I believe you can either go in there through A.V. Parks or Adrienne V. Parks. I have an Instagram account. I have, God help me, a TikTok account, which is actually hilarious. Talk about an old bitch learning new tricks. But also, if you go to adriennevparks.com, you can find not only information about the Parks-Bowman Mansion, you can also find out probably more than you ever wanted to know, except a lot of it's funny, about the Saturni. And some of it is very naughty, and some of it is very nasty, and most of it is very funny.
Naughty, nasty, funny. I like it. Those are good taglines. So, Adrienne, thank you so very much for welcoming me into your home, allowing me to stay here, and I truly love this space. Truly love this space. I'm so happy to be here. Back. And that was me talking to Adrienne Parks of the Parks-Bowman Mansion, the haunted Airbnb in New Orleans in the Garden District, and this location was just so inviting to stay in. And yeah, maybe there were some ghosts too. Perhaps a strange encounter on my end. You can read about this and read more detail about my stay there over at dailydead.com under the Weird Travels column. I'm curious if you've ever stayed there, if you've had any ghost experiences in New Orleans or just creepy experiences in New Orleans. Tell me about it. Love to hear about those. And then make your way to the Parks-Bowman Mansion if you get a chance, because it's situated right in the Garden District. It's very convenient. It's right by the streetcar stop, so you can get to the French Quarter very quickly. It's right by Magazine Street, so shops, restaurants, and right over by Commander's Palace, which is an iconic restaurant of New Orleans, as well as very close to the Lafayette Cemetery No. 1, which is sadly closed right now, but you can still poke your head into the gate and take some pictures. Okay, that's it for me for this Halloween week episode of Talking Strange. Until next time, be kind, stay spooky, and keep it weird.